All right. Hello, everybody. Now, these might be day 40 or it might not. I'll decide later on when I put it up on YouTube. Long story short, I wasn't really supposed to be streaming today, but it's rainy outside, so my wife ended up driving the baby to preschool instead of me, which means I have free time for a stream. Now, I said I would have cleaned up the rig to share the scene offline, and then while I was doing that, while I was having a look around, I found a couple of things that I was not super happy with the foot, and decided to fix it live to put it out there. So what we are gonna have a look at today is basically finishing preparing these for the scene if we have time. But the other thing is looking at how the foot works out. So the guide is actually working well, and as expected, the behavior of the foot is kind of what you would expect. You can see some drift there, but that is because it's guided. So that's not really an issue. Unguided, I would expect it to not have any issues. So this should be 0, 0. Yeah. So unguided, I would expect it not to have it. And let's try that right away. Swap. There might be some issues there actually, so we'll have to look at that as well. Yeah, not super happy with how that's working. Let me see. The control is drifting back, so some numbers are slightly off. I would like to fix it. And now the guide, unless I did something wrong. Yeah, no, okay. I did do something wrong there. So it did not. Oh, I swapped the foot, haven't I? Yeah. I did not swap the leg global. So there's still some drift. You can see this thing when it shouldn't, drifting up. We're gonna have a look at that. Let's see what we can do. The guide for the foot. Let me see. Yeah, okay. So I had a couple in there. Guide for the foot I need to look at because it's probably not gonna be doing a lot anyway. So the first thing that I want to look at, because it's bothering me to no end, is the foot is being driven. In this case, I'm looking at foot R that is in here. That is what actually has the joint output that we're looking at. The foot roll actually, because this is forward kinematic, so it needs to go in this direction, whereas the roll itself we implemented in the other direction. Some people call it a reverse foot roll. I don't know why it will be reverse. Probably because it's not FK. Anyway, so yeah, that's what we are gonna be looking at now. We also have the leg global, so we could hide. Let's hide the geo for now, because we don't need to see that to troubleshoot. And I could hide the foot itself. Again, this is why I like components. So the mechanics here are gonna be showing us what is going on with the roll, and those are not drifting. Okay, that I not looked at that. So well, that is the good news. Good start there. It means that we only have work to do with the linking of the foot. So that is the foot part. We good with that. And then we have control the anim parameters here. So that is going to the roll there. I would like that to, I'm gonna say I would actually like to have more material than that. Ready? Why? Okay. Am I clicking? Yeah, whatever. So I would like to actually get better diagnostics than what I have now, which will be pushing these forward, getting that kind of behavior up to the lock point. That'll be fine. And it's in guided mode, so I expect a little bit of sketchiness there. So key that. The other thing I would like to have is I don't want these in, is out. I would like it linear, thank you. I will probably want these. Actually, let me check because I never remember. Okay, so say these at 40. These at 60 is fine. So that is fine. It's fine as it is. Don't need that. And I would like to have the heel back in our test as well, and then at frame 20 we're good to go, basically. Sure. So actually at frame 0 I'm gonna keep it at 0 so that I don't have to go insane to find like the right frame or make mistakes. And then we're gonna start at frame 1 with the heel back. So yeah, always get yourself some motion. Now, is it behaving the way I expect it to? Okay, so there's a good chunk of the heel back that is not doing anything, so I will need to change the parameters of the attribute, but that's okay. We can live with that. So there's a clamp on the heel back, which we definitely want to look at the value of. So that's a config. Do I have, I should have, so that's config, I should have the anim easily retrievable, there you go. And this is the UC, heel back clamp. It's minus 40, meh, fair enough. We can live with that. So, minus 40. Don't care for easy and is out. Cool. So that way I want to see the whole behavior. All right, so let's say that that is fine as it is. I mean, it's operating regardless of the guide because the guide is just setting angles. But let's try, just for the sake of completeness, de-guide the leg, de-guide the foot, well, the global. So the behavior seems correct. Yeah. So it jumps there and that's okay. Cool. All right. Now, next thing is looking at the foot in this case. I don't feel that I need to see the leg for these. I'm not even sure I need to see the leg global, but whatever. And for those that don't know, Control M will hide and show the menus, and Control Space goes in expert mode, which is a lot less crud sitting around. So next thing is getting to the foot. So this is gonna be the tone of this stream. That's why I'm in dubbed, whether it should be a chill stream or sorry, a chill stream or something else. And there you go. So that's the main difference. I might have had some static value, so it's not too bad actually. Probably means that, so this control is working one way, and in the leg global, I don't want to see all the DG nodes, please. Word heel to roll tarsi. So this one, okay, so the foot is misaligned. That's problem number 1. The buffer is misaligned. The buffer is blending between a 0 input A and input B. Fair enough. So there is an offset. The reason there is this thing is that if we're in IK mode where we want the foot roll to have its full influence, then we need a 0 basically. Well, not necessarily in this case because this is the first joint, but whatever. Now, if we sorry, I can do this. If we are in FK mode, we want the 0 because we want it to just follow the leg in like an FK piece does. If we're in IK mode, we want it to follow the foot roll, so there's the angle between the leg itself and whatever the foot roll is contributing that we want to blend in. Now, the fact that this is the same value here doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong. Tarsi angle is going in for both. And that Tarsi angle, so this is all pinned, right? Yeah. So is this something that the D guiding takes care of, I wonder? Because if it does, let me see. Yeah, okay, so that's good. So when we D-guide, what happens is that, so when we're in IK mode, we get that angle because we get it. It's what we want, right? So when we're guiding, it's supposed to be in FK mode. And when you D-guide it, one of the two gets disconnected so that it basically becomes a constant. So that's okay, I can live with that. So in the case of the heel back, I'm definitely not happy with what is going on. In the case of the roll forward, it simply looks like it's getting the wrong angle, like there's some offset of some sort, which is that. So I will stay here where there's some movement and actually solve it in place so that I get a good read. It might also be, yeah, it's positionally off as well. Okay, that's interesting. That might be contributing. I wonder if it's because of the guiding. So, okay. I hope this is making sense, like what I'm saying and what I'm saying to you folk age listening. Now, the position of this thing is off, which is a bit surprising, but it explains everything. Well, not everything, but it definitely does explain some stuff. So this is receiving the ankle space. Okay, and that's locked, which is good. The handiness is coming in. Handiness sign. Huh, that is interesting. So what is happening there is that we might have had an offset of sort like that. That was coming in. So our problem is this is the handiness fix, which is okay. This is just the decompose that gets us our space. Is the control move? No. So this is the one that's off. And it's receiving the translate from the handiness fix. And that is receiving matrix in, handiness matrix. So this is a multiply. The handiness matrix is just the one that takes care of compensating. Yeah, of compensating for the scaling. The handiness here is the trick that we talked about that actually gets different manipulation for the controls. And this matrix here is start matrix, which might be the incorrect one. So I don't want to mess things up. So let me clean that. And let's see what it's receiving. For start matrix, it's getting leg output. Legger output. chain end. So that chain end is receiving from a pair blend, which is receiving from the rotation blend, and leg RJ03 matrix, debugging stream, basically. Oh, come on, this auto panning thing, I need to see if there's a way to turn it off. I don't remember it ever having been this annoying before. Before, I don't know, 2018 update 3 or 4. I'm on update 4 now, I believe. Anyway. So, what are you receiving? FKIK blend, that's cool. FK, 3-word matrix. So I do want to see the leg now. Now this is the foot control. And this is so okay, the foot control seems to be in the right position given what the leg is informing it to do. So all these discrepancies we are seeing, is that just, was I off by a frame or something stupid like that? No way, can't be that dumb. No, apparently I can. So this is the tarsi control. This is the leg joint. The orientation is different, which is actually what we want. So no, they're all in the same place and I'm just stupid. Might need to de-guide it to see what happens there, but okay, that does not seem to be at fault then. Which means that the part that is at fault is that foot input, tarsi angle, leg global output. So I wonder if what is happening is that before we're looking at an angle between something vertical, assuming that it would be in, and now that has gone off like that. And in that case, nah. Let's see. So that's the tarsi angle, which is coming out of here. Let me pin the rest of this crap. So this is an angle, oh come on. This is an angle between these I do not care about. These I do care about. What are you receiving from where? There's vector 1. So we are taking the angle between Z, which actually should be coming from, I think we have something like a foot direction. So we should be taking something like that, but that's okay. Now, that angle is between Z, and that's why it's not changing, and something else. And it is placing, okay, that makes sense then. So we are looking at either this angle, yeah, it should be something like that angle, and then expect it to be pretty minute. So extra attributes, tarsi angle 18 degrees. It looks like a reasonable 18 degrees, but we are then applying between these and that. That's coming from the leg global, which cannot depend on this. So what we probably need to do is in the foot actually contemplate a better angle than that. I did not expect that to have been there. I mean, it's a relatively obvious mistake once you find it. I'm surprised that I made it. I'm surprised that I did not contemplate. Maybe the foot was in an uncertain state for a bit and then I forgot that it needed fixing. Anyway, let's have a look. So what do I have? Now for the tarsi angle, received from the leg. I could jerry-rig something into submission just to make sure that I get the right values. Because what we would want is to take this vector and that vector and get the angle between those two, and that would be our rest. Then that rest is applied as an offset at all times. Well, and some difference between the foot roll and the rest. Whereas in FK, that's only applied and kept the way it is, which is what the guiding does by turning it into a constant. The alternative would be from these to also output something that is word aligned to simplify that process. Because it's probably easier to get the leg and get it to output something that is word aligned for this to use, which will be that start matrix. So I'm tempted to say that in guide mode, if we had a start matrix here that was word aligned, our life will be easier. That is my feeling about this. And that will basically imply, come on, getting these to go out like that. But that matrix is probably only going to get used for position for now. Anyway, I am very undecided on what I want to do to solve it right now. I reckon this is gonna stay as a chill stream for now. That's my feeling. I mean, people have said that they don't mind debugging streams. So who knows? But yeah, I'm kind of glad that I did not do all of these offline, because I feel it will betray the spirit of showing everything that goes into making a rig that we've been trying to stick to. So okay, now I need to foot component handedness. So this is only applying a simple transform. This is not rotated. Ankle space. Well, it is rotated, but you get what I'm saying. So this is being altered by the chain moving, is it? Yeah. So it's grabbing the start matrix and it's only doing handedness tricks. So I could in theory add flavor to that. I could add an offset by having another matrix in here. And that offset could be coming from the rest pose of these, so it will be disconnected at guide time. I need one more operation in there. So this probably worked when we were doing when we're actually laying out the components and everything, maybe being in some default transform or whatever. Or with simply some sort of oversight. The irony in all of this is that I'm doing this work, but to be honest, if I had done a check by just binding it and then using it, other than that heel back kind of problem, which I reckon is the sign of the angle, we probably would have never noticed it, because with all the fuzz that binding, like that skinning adds, it probably would have disappeared. because what matters is the rotation of these more than anything. So we would have noticed the drift, the translation drift, but not the rest. I still think it should be fixed. So just for the sake of doing it, matrix mode matrix, yes. And compose matrix. So what I want to do right now is jerry-rig something to make sure that I have understood the problem and that my idea for fixing it works. So this is just to get myself some sort of... Really? Okay, now you expand that, thank you. So my expectation is that if I statically add that offset, I am gonna be good. That will be around the X. Wow, first try. Well, the other thing I want to do, I don't want to go in there and crunch the numbers yet. I mean, I might not even do it, which is kind of, you know, not very engineery, but I mean, there's only so much time. What I want to see is if that drift, again, the right thing to do would be redoing all the derivations, making sure that we have an understanding of the numerical space. But the quicker thing to do is making sure that you understand where you can patch it. In my case here, it doesn't necessarily mean you keep the patch. You might look for a more upstream solution that depends on the number of factors like performance and so on. Now, but by patching it, you can observe whether that is the only problem or not. So the rest of the alignment, after that problem is patched, is good. So the rest of the foot is still well conceived. What I was wondering about is if we still get drift, and we do. So what happens is when that drift starts kicking off, I will need to look at what gets spaced apart. But first things first, I have to understand why this is such a subtle number. I was expecting different numbers. There's something here that I am missing, clearly. Because my assumptions for the guide and all of that actually do hold. So why do I have that silly offset? Where is it coming from? I don't like that. I don't like not understanding that number. Ankle space. So that ankle space is the one that has the minus 2760, but that is because it's receiving it from that. That is receiving 18224 in local space. So yeah, if I produced more of an angle from here, it will be the same thing, is my feeling. Do I have an add for two angles? I think I was using blend additive. Blend node additive DA. Interpolation additive. So this should allow me, I believe, to actually add angles. So at this point, minus 276, whatever. So I found the patching point here. Now if I get rid of the patch, I want to make sure my understanding of the problem is complete. So that's a blend. Where am I with these? Don't need these. Well, I might want to keep these around for the value. So I could do input B like that, put that in like that. Now if I add the offset in there, actually let me first, because this might change the way the guiding works. So is this guided or unguided now? Okay. So it was unguided. Now, what I would like to see is, come on. I don't know why input B shows and input A does not. I don't know what to say of it. An output is flagged as writable, which is always a funny thing. So you see it as an input, despite the fact that it can also be an output. Which is always a bit dodgy. I don't love it. Now input B, I want 0. Again, all I want to do here is validate my understanding of where the problem is coming from. So yes, my assumption that I can patch upstream is correct. So when I was saying, when I was looking at the numbers I was looking at, then I'm wondering if I take this to 0. See, I'm wondering if this is now orthogonal to that. I will venture that it is. So my original assumption, but the part that doesn't make sense, or that much sense, is that if I move these around, if I'm not considering these the way I should, when I move these around, that orientation should change. So there's a static kind of value that is out of whack. Now I know that that's the Darcy angle. The part that really has me puzzled is that it's a constant thing. It's a constant difference. I would actually also like to take this down because it was bothering me all along. So okay. Let me see, how long am I? About half an hour in. Man, this is a slow one, but it's more the loss of familiarity with what I was doing so many months ago with these. So I know that the Darcy angle is at fault here. If anybody has an idea, by the way, please feel free to shout in chat. Don't care for these any longer. Might want to save the scene. For our input, that is, the Darcy angle is coming from the leg global, we know that. So that's a rolled angle, and it's taking the angle between Z. Maybe I am doing something stupid. So it's taking, let me see, ankle for intersymmetrics. There must be a subtle difference, those 2 degrees that are messing me up somewhere in here. So I could chase that, or I could try and figure out the behavior in reverse or whatever. I might actually do this one more by the book. So I would like to remove these so that I can see the consequences of whatever I'm doing. I can actually take it out of the graph. It stays in scene. And I bring it back here. And this is raw mechanics, which I don't know why you brought in. Well, maybe I had them in there. Doesn't matter. So this is just an annotation for what the values are. Now, I said that the Darcy angle that I need to offset is coming from the angle between two items. This is an angle between. Cool. One is a z-axis. And the other one, and that seems fine, because if that stays constant, like if it was tied to some miscalculation with the leg and there were parenting and other things going wrong, this will alter that angle again. So there's something silly going on somewhere. So this is word direction. So this is Darcy word direction is being obtained by getting that and that. So one, this is backwards, isn't it? No, it's correct. Darcy and Darcy SRT word matrix, word matrix. So that is correct. It's fine. Wondering if I can. It's kind of offending me. I gotta admit that these are sorted out like that. So this is taking those two. Yeah, it's fine. And it's performing a subtraction. So that gives me this vector basically. It really shouldn't matter all that much. But depending on what we're doing with it later. So yeah, it matters because we would otherwise have to sign it differently. Or I could measure against -1. Okay. So that will negate the sign just fine. I mean, but it's, I gotta admit, I'm finding this maddening right now. I am forgetting about some assumption or something like that that I made somewhere. That's, is this out of whack compared to that? Nah. No, it's not. Or at least I don't think so. Yeah. No, this is not out of whack. I think it's pretty straight there. For those that don't know, minus and plus on your alphanumeric will actually embiggen, enlarge, or reduce the size of manipulator in screen space. And it is in screen space, so as you zoom in and out, you know, you might not quite get the measurement effect you wanted. Anyway, why is it a static offset? Why can't I puzzle out my own rigs anymore? Not today. So what am I looking at here? Because these are being, I'm hiding the roll mechanics or not now? So one is here, and the other is there. Subtracting the two gives me this vector. And then I'm measuring the angle between those and the z-axis, and for the negation effect, in this case I've chosen the minus z-axis. It's exactly the same as having them ordered the other way around and then using the z. I'll tell you what, I'm gonna get over my dislike for that crossing, because it's silly when we're clearly down the plus z. It's silly to obey that kind of compulsion when the correct value is clearly there. Resist that kind of compulsion. Don't do it. Don't be that person. So the ankle rolled at this point doesn't really matter all that much. And I wish Maya would actually... Is the ankle roll going the wrong way around? It's very possible, but it's also possible that it's because we're in guide mode. Is the foot joint under a buffer? Could that contain the offset? So the foot joint, the two I'm measuring are these and these. And I think I verified, yeah, I'm using their word matrix. So the angle that comes out is the one that's at fault. Now what you're talking about is whether in this space, blending between the two, something is introduced in that offset, which is kind of how I felt about it. So I was looking at this chain, which is the Darcy buffer. Like, I mean, this is better aligned. Is it? Man, are you right about that? Has it been in front of me? Jesus. God. I moved the... What am I doing here? Yeah, this is definitely not going online. At least I'm glad online. I'm not complete... I mean, I am completely stupid because I've chased that for like a long time. And for some reason, these had a literal rotation on it. And that's why I don't understand why it's a static offset. It's because it was a static offset at end of chain of transforms. Alright, at least I'm not crazy. How... I'm just not gonna dwell. I was starting to seriously question myself there. I was like, this is all trivial maths. Why am I not finding the number? Because I'm an idiot. It doesn't matter how knowledgeable or smart you think you are. You're always gonna be an idiot when you do these things. Alright. Thank you, done. See, that's why you rubber duck. So... Now I completely lost... I mean, there's still other things to fix. There's the drift and all of that. I hope I haven't fixed something by mistake or, you know, introduced another issue, but whatever. Now, the drift, we can find. Now, the heel back should be a matter of sign. So when it's going backwards like that, why is it signed wrong? Let's see. I'm gonna pretend the last half an hour didn't exist. And so there's no debugging to do that I have to put on YouTube? Probably not. Because I want to do, like, if it's debugging, I want to do it live. But if it's about resetting a control, then maybe I don't want to do it live for half an hour. Anyway, so now this is the one that's coming out unsigned, basically. The rotate is just on the X for 14, as there's a heel back. Let's have a look. Let us have a looky. So at 0, it's at 0. Then here is a heel back that's receding into or proceeding into a roll. So it's off after a certain value, which is interesting. So it's correct here. And I'm tempted to say, if you look at what is going on, see here it's correct, the heel back is correct, and you can see that what is happening is that some axis, like at this point, it's still going in that direction, so it's in one quadrant. Some vector here is crossing a threshold. Looks like a limit on a value. It's possible that there's a limit, but yeah, my guess will be that angle between is not signing that right. An angle between does some silly magic because it can give you a full rotation from two vectors, so it does save some state. I think the first time you bring it in, like whatever, it might take the cross between the two and store it as the reference axis to get the sign of the angle. But in this case, it's inapplicable. So I'm wondering if it wouldn't be a better idea for this case to just clamp it out, receive the roll value, because that's being so. Okay. We're in luck with the position, so the ankle offset that's actually displacing is fine. It's literally just the sign of, I guess it will be the Darcy angle again. It's the y-axis instead and minus 90-degree offset after. That whole measuring the axis is not, it's generally not a great idea, because you will end up always being dependent on the word alignment. So if your rig was to actually walk stuck to the ceiling, you'll be in a terrible place. Normally what you want to do is you use those kind of measurements just to introduce offsets for guides and stuff like that. But the actual computation of angles and so on, you transmit angles if you can. Or you compute the angles in some space that is reliable, like you extract, you know, the overshoot of the tibia or something like that. I am using the z-axis currently, yes, which is something I need to look at. I think that's why I'm not calling the rig finished, just because it's been fit. Well, I will need to turn it around. I don't know what will happen if we can try it. I mean, what can possibly go wrong, right? So this way does not have issues, but yeah, so whatever I'm doing is probably just for the offset or something like that. I will hope. The other thing you have to keep in mind, when I use it for the foot roll, actually what you say might apply still here, because the foot roll is in global space, so that's why I can afford to measure against the global for the offsets. I forgot that I was solving it ahead of everything else and keeping the angle. So yeah, I might get away with that. If it's that. Yeah. Trying to think if there is reason for me to dislike the idea and if I want to solve that first. I'm gonna investigate that. How long have I been going for? Because this is, I mean, other than that silly mistake, I mean, which it kind of tickles me funny. I don't hate it. These investigations yielded. I think I do need to do a stream where we fix the foot. It's uncomfortably broken. So I'm gonna take this through a quick investigation step, but then as far as fixing it goes, I'll do it in the next stream, and I'll do it proper and record it as episode 40. You could get a problem in the other direction if it rolls to an extreme pose. Anything where you do angle measurements from vectors, you are limited to two quadrants, basically. The only solution is having multiple measurements and doing multiple angles between, and then looking at the relationship between those angles, which when you think about it is basically what a tan 2 does. A tan 2 being the arctangent that sucks less, and it's a very computer sciencey thing, so it's not a real transcendental function in trigonometry, but it is so pervasively common in computer science that it basically gets the name a tan 2. So yeah, if you ever want full quadrant coverage, so basically the 360 degrees and signage, normally you need to run two operations, compare signs between the two operations to find in what quadrant you are, and then choose one of several values based on that. So it's a branching operation as well. That is literally the nature of these kind of numerical problems. Now, when people say, "Oh, you know, I've rotations in word space and I want this amazing interpolation between them, like that goes, you know, let alone spins, but even like 360 in one direction and 360 in the other." Let's say the numerical space for these problems does not work like that. The people that find solutions, you know, that claim that they found a numerical solution normally don't quite understand the problem. And they somewhere they're basically accumulating state. You need a stateful solution to solve across that much. Or it's also possible that there's some secret number recipe that I don't know of, but I'd be surprised to find out because it will contradict some of the math books I've read. Anyway, digressing aside, so look, the 180 can definitely be made work. I would like to make sure that it actually comes from that, because Sergey might also have a point. So, yeah, I'm not gonna do a mini series on rotations, man. It's rotations are really tricky. They're really hard to explain. You need a lot of graphics to do them well. I don't know if you know Free Blue One Brown. It's a math channel. He does amazing animations. Wrote his own little Python software to do them over the years. If you don't know it, look it up because he's pretty amazing. And he's done a video on quaternions, and that barely scratches the surface of the kind of issues you have to deal with when you want to discuss interpolating rotations. I am not spending that amount of time on a mini series. Rotations are brutal. Yeah, for Blue Brown is amazing. Like his intuition for mathematics is incredible. Like the stuff he explains is basic but by some standards, but the kind of intuitions he has about those, non-trivial. Like he's a really solid mathematician because he does pretty stuff and he's really good at it. It might come across like he's covering something that's easy. It's not. what's his name? There's Mathlogger. Yeah, Mathlogger is also amazing, but he's definitely not as like his intuitions and his proof are incredible. Um, but he's not as approachable as Free Blue One Brown is. If you don't know Mathlogger, um, I think it's Mathlogger I'm thinking about. You can look it up on YouTube. I mean, at this point, I'm not gonna be saving this stream to the YouTube channel, so yeah, it's Mathlogger. The math for reflecting a transform about a 3D plane. So it's kind of what we're doing with the handedness switch. We could go over that in a patron beater or something like it. I don't know how much added value it will be, but sure. Because the math for reflecting a transform is for like for the most part, you're basically gonna be fighting the application's flows, right? Softimage had some, and then they patched them for us at Animal Logic. Maya still has quite a few. You can make them work, but you have to deal with some quirks because they're fundamentally choosing one handedness, and you want them to work in both handednesses or whatever. So the math is. I mean, we can sketch it right now on the blackboard if you want. If this is your matrix, you know, it's your free axis, and you have some plane that you want to reflect by, that plane is gonna have a normal. Literally, all you need to do is to basically get these axes and project them on that, get the rejection, and add it back in. So if this is the plane normal, you know, it will be, let's say, here, and if this plane was a full 3D frame, whatever, let's say you have some angle here, you know, small amount of it, and some larger amount here, and whatever you have, you're pretty much taking these axes here, say your x-axis, you know, you're projecting it that way. You take the rejection, which is this, you take the projection, which is this, negate the projection, add the rejection back, which remains the same, and that's become that. And you do the same for all three axes. You're done. You project all three axes of the matrix on the normal of the plane. You negate the projection and add back the rejection. That's it. And what it does is it changes the handedness of the matrix from right-handed to left-handed or vice versa. That's the entirety of the maths. Anyway. Sorry, was it too brief and too fast and more confusing than anything? Or, but I would have to belabor the point beyond belief to actually make a whole mini series about reflecting transforms. Play with it. Like your intuition about it is likely to be right. Start with a position, and instead of just negating one axis, choose an arbitrary axis. One arbitrary vector, like that's, you know, that's gonna be your arrow that kind of gives you the plane. And try playing with that. Try getting a projection first. Then once you have a projection, which I think I have discussed and involves the dot product, once you have the projection, the rejection, which is what would it take for that projection to reach back to the original vector, is just a subtraction between projection and the original vector. And at that point you have projection and rejection. If you negate the projection, which is changing the sign of all three of its, or however, whatever dimensionality you're working in, changing its sign, changing the sign of each scalar, then you add back the rejection unchanged, if that makes more sense. So it's your and just do a vector, and the matrix as you use it in Maya, an affine matrix, is basically those three vectors, and the position will be the same thing, just separately. You treat all the rows separately. So you don't really need to reflect the transform, you reflect vectors to change the handedness, which is what people normally mean when they say reflection. So we were saying the heel back is not working before I took like a million tangents. And is that because of that infamous angle? Now, one of the things that drives me insane about Maya that exercised really well is you would have manipulators, a bunch of things like property pages, everything would stay live as you move the timeline. And it was so convenient to monitor multiple values. Maya makes it so much harder unnecessarily. It's one of the things I just never really liked it. It's always been so crap. Anyway, so Darcy rolled angle, that's probably what we're looking at. Translate radius, what am I looking at here? So those are the two vectors, and unlike the rest, so I'm using the angle unsigned. Well, it's probably going to be trying to sign the angle. Darcy angle is the one we're looking at. So it's a 21 here. This is at 16. 022. So yeah, the angle, like, regardless of all the talk about angles and whatnot and quadrants, the angle is unsigned. And this is when I was talking about quadrants. You could choose the y-axis, right? And that will basically give you, when you choose an axis, like choosing the z-axis basically means that you get the two quadrants that are just above and just below that. If I chose the y-axis, I will basically get the two quadrants that are just beside the positive y. What you can do if you want both, which is what I was talking about when I said, you know, the atan2 mixing sine and cosine and things like that, things that use multiple operations. I could take something, and I probably will. The angle is correct, but what I need is to find the sine of that angle by taking something like, you know, the y direction of these. I might actually be able to sign it trivially. So anything vertical here, and as it crosses that boundary, if I dot product it with z, the sine of that is going to give me the sine of the actual angle that I am interested in. So the problem is that the angle isn't signed. The cause of it is that angle between is not focusing on the right quadrants. The solution to it is probably going to be choosing another factor and adding it in so that I can keep these entirely, so that I can keep the leg global entirely prior to the leg and keep things the way they are. All right. I reckon I'm gonna leave it here. I think I got all the inspecting that I wanted to do done. I don't want to fix it because I'm not gonna keep this stream. But I definitely want to do it. I want to do the fixing and all of that on stream. I thought I would just clean stuff up and chill a bit on Twitch, but anyway. Will the y component of your global Darcy vector change its sign when it crosses horizontal? the y component of my global Tarsi vector change when it crosses horizontal. So you're talking about getting what I was pointing out, I guess, where you take something like these and you say when that crosses that way, yes. If you dot product these, right, with the z-axis, which is what we're using, that's kind of what I was talking about. See how it goes like that? I can't use these because I'm driving these, but you're sort of thinking about the right thing. Like that's the idea, except that I want to cause that change in sign. So I need to find something prior to that which gives me the same signage. And what it boils down to is that if you have, you know, these, actually we're working off the Z. What it boils, oh come on, give me a break. I can do it eventually. So if you have the Z here and we're working off that, right? And we have this angle going on, whatever angle it is. We basically want that angle will go like that, and then it will go like that, right? It will keep bouncing between those two things. And that is what gets that foot control to be limited to this space. So we want to find something in our operations that will cross that threshold. So anything that we know alters itself when you enter the negative signage. So what I'm doing, you're probably talking about that. So what I'm saying is we're already solving it, right? Because we already have these. So yes, we could take these and do a dot with something else. Or a number of other things. But the thing is, if we're solving these correctly, it means that we can derive something fairly simple from these. Because these, if you have, you know, if you have the correct behavior somewhere, anywhere, you will always be able to find what you care about. And you know when it's going wrong, basically, which is whatever. In this case, I will need to actually look at the values, but it's when, well, let's do it because whatever, why not? So when these is crossing over, right, things are going wrong for my sign. So I might even do it and that's it, right? So it's crossing over, the angle between is not working out. So if I take that vector, literally the same vector that I'm using here, and I dot product that with the y, come on. The problem is, oh, Jesus, give me a break. The problem is Maya is crap. Maya nodes collection is crap, and I wish I could use Sergei or something like that, but I promise Vanilla Maya for this series. I am reaching, I'm at my wit's end. So now the dot product here, these will change sign the way we need it, probably. I would expect it to, at least. Because I'm taking these and doing the dot on the y, which is kind of what I was talking about with the projection here. So that is going to be in this range. So that is going to change sign, you know, the way I want it. Now, what I would normally do if this was a decent application and not Maya, would be extract sign, which would normally give me -1 or +1, depending on the sign of this thing. But whatever. So output. Is this, I say dot product, so what are you gonna output to? X, Y, and Z? All gonna be whatever. Anyway, so, and then multiply that by the Tarsi angle, which will require a unique conversion node because whatever. What else could I do? Yeah, no, I need to extract the sign from that. So that will be probably, that will probably be the easiest way. Now, to normalize it, I don't have an absolute no di Maya, do I? Ah, it makes things so much harder than they should ever be. Anyway, does that make sense? You get what I'm saying? So we have something upstream that's well behaving. We just derive a sign out of the part that is already well behaved, and the dot product with the y, because we're working in word space fixed axis. The dot product with the y is gonna get us what we want. Um, I'm trying to think if it might even be easier to do it some other way, because Maya makes all these operations so unnecessarily hard. Like there's no, well, the scale angle I can use. Hmm. Trying to think if there's something I can do here. Anyway, that's a problem for the actual stream. But yeah, get the sign with that dot product and you'll be good. All right, I'm gonna call it here. This is the Twitch exclusive. Might put it out for patrons, but it's definitely not gonna go on the public channel. All right, thanks everybody for keeping me company and rubber ducking these. I don't know, maybe it would have gone disastrously wrong. Like I would have spent 2 hours wondering why I'd rotated the control, or maybe I would have got it done in 20 minutes and got to the same point. I don't know, but it was more fun this way. All right, thanks everybody, and I might stream. I think I'm gonna stream once more this week, especially if it's gonna rain in the morning and my wife gets a baby, and hopefully finish that full at that point. And yeah, I'll see you next time.